friend. Thank you. There she is. Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. Excellent.
Awesome. Thanks so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you.
Let everybody know where you're tuning in from.
So I live in a small town, Ingleside, Ontario, very close to Cornwall, Ontario, and not far from Ottawa.
Awesome. Awesome. And thanks again for joining us, Janet. I'll do a little intro so everybody knows who you are. So Janet St Pierre is owner of In the Now Yoga and Wellness, and she uses her skills to assist people of all ages to improve their mental, emotional, and physical health. June 2021, Janet was shocked to hear she had a brain tumor the size of a clementine, and it had to be removed quickly. Her skills and experience are her best tools as she continues on with her brain tumor journey. So thank you so much again for joining us, Janet. Let's get right into it. So why don't you tell us a little bit about life before your diagnosis?
Life before my diagnosis was very active. I'm a hiker, I'm a rock climber, I'm a snowshoer. I have a lot of energy or had. I'm still kind of in the okay zone. And I do all kinds of yoga, not only for myself, obviously, but for my clients. And I do a lot of what I call complementary services. They're not free, but it's an Eastern and Western world coming together is what it is. Because sometimes we say holistic and people go, yeah, no, right? So I'm a mom, I'm a stepmom of adult kids, soon to be a grandma.
Oh,
and I think I'm a positive person, and that I can say has truly gotten me through all of this.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And yes, you are a very positive person. And thank you again for joining us today. So tell us a little bit about your diagnosis, when you were diagnosed, and maybe some of the symptoms leading up to your diagnosis as well.
Sure. So the first thing that happened was on June the 19th. I was out in the morning cutting my grass, and I couldn't figure out why I couldn't swallow, and I kept trying to swallow and I couldn't swallow. And then my lawnmower stopped, and I couldn't figure out why my lawnmower stopped. But I was very concerned about not swallowing. So this is the power of the mind. It's so strong. I cut across to my neighbor, who is retired in the healthcare industry. And she said, my God, Janet, you're having a seizure. So up until a while ago, I used to say Caesar, which is my favorite drink, but I've kind of mastered the talking. So she's like, you're having a seizure. She started to walk me home, and my bike, which was brand new, was in my driveway. And all I could think in this seizure was, I got to get my bike in the shed. So I put my bike in the shed, and the short story of that is finally an ambulance come. I was in and out of consciousness after that, couldn't speak. What I thought I was saying was not what I was saying. So the ambulance took me to the hospital. I was there for a few hours, this and that. And then the doctor that was an emergency came in and said, Janet, I believe you've had a reaction to your COVID vaccine, which I had the night before.
Okay.
I'm sending you home because I need your room for a car accident. So, but I had several massive headaches during that few hours of being there, to the point where I was out of control and didn't even realize I was out of control. And the good thing is the doctor really shouted, you need to breathe, which is not the best thing to say, but it really triggered me that I had to settle down. I needed that, even though it wasn't perfect.
Sure.
So they sent me home, and for a couple of days I had really bad headaches, called my doctor, and he said, did they do a CT scan? And I said, no. And he said, you need a CT scan. So I went to Cornwall, that's the closest hospital. And from there, they sent me, that was on Tuesday. And on Thursday, I went to Cornwall to get the CT scan. and I was told that I had a brain tumor. And I was kind of like, oh my God, like it was shock, because up until that seizure, I was just zoom, zoom, go, go.
Mhm.
Um, and not feeling like I had any symptoms. And I like to say that I'm pretty much aware of my body.
Yeah.
Um, so I was sent by ambulance to Ottawa,
Mhm.
and I stayed overnight. I had an MRI that day and stayed overnight. And then my neurosurgeon come in to break the news.
Yeah. So, and you were diagnosed with a meningioma, correct?
Yes, thanks
Yeah.
for saying it, because
You're
sometimes I'm
welcome.
like, I don't even know how to say this word.
Okay, it's okay. And so
Yeah.
it was sudden symptoms for you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, so you said your surgeon came in and gave you the news, and then did they do surgery right away, or did they wait a little
I
bit?
Well, I had in my, it was planned for the following Tuesday or Thursday, but I ended up having it on July 12th, I think it was.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So here you are on the left here, August 2021. That was your, I assume after your first surgery, and then,
Yeah, no, actually, yeah, Janet, that was my second
oh,
surgery.
that was
So
your second surgery.
my first one was 30, just the 30 staples,
Or
just.
yeah, just 30 seconds.
And the picture on the bottom is like that's the
That's
second
here.
surgery. So
Okay.
my first surgery went actually well.
Mhm.
Um, when I was in the hospital recovering, at least it was well on a physical aspect. I was really good to get around. I could get around. I thought I was really smart.
Mhm.
Talking and what I thinking, again, more like being in a seizure
Yeah.
sometimes. Uh, but every time they come in and did the question answer thing, it was really, I was really kind of like getting more and more depressed the more they came in to do these question answers,
Mhm.
because I couldn't answer and I couldn't remember.
Okay.
Um, so it was kind of like, oh my, like, oh, okay, this is not good. Um, and it was stressful,
Yeah.
because I felt physically fine, but
Mhm.
mentally I knew that I am not good.
Yeah. Yeah. That's tough. Yeah, that's tough. And so afterwards, so life after surgery, I know you had a lot of rehab, and this part here with the helmet, was that after your first surgery or after your second surgery?
No. So what happened when after my surgery, I was in the hospital for 7 days, and they recommended that I go to brain rehabilitation, which I was very hesitant, but I did go. And I mean, it's a good thing because they do many things.
Yeah.
So while I was in brain rehabilitation, I started getting sick.
Okay.
I went from feeling really great, ambitious, walking, doing my yoga, doing whatever, to I
Mhm.
just went on like overnight downhill. Um, and they were doing blood work. First, they tested me for COVID, didn't have it. They were keeping me in isolation because I had some sort of infection that they couldn't figure out. My blood work was showing it. And it ended up, so the one night, like many days into this infection and not being myself, and I knew this isn't good. I could taste it, kind of tasted like vomit in my mouth. I
Yeah.
was totally lethargic again. I could tell I was losing weight. So one night the nurse came in and she was listening, and she heard me. She heard everything. They knew that this lady that walked in here has
Mhm.
left the building. She's not the same girl or woman.
Right. Right.
So she wrote an email to the doctor that's at the rehab with her concerns, with everything that her as well the other nurses were experiencing seeing me.
Mhm.
So when he come in the next day, I thought, okay, I'm finally going to be heard, because up until then he would come in and say, you're having anxiety, you're stressed. And he
Mhm.
said over and over, I'd like to put you on anxiety medication.
Mhm.
And I'm like, I'm not. Yes, I'm anxious, but because no one hears me, no one's listening to me.
Yeah.
And so after seeing the nurse, who I'm like, okay, we've got this. This is going to like make a difference. He come in the next day and basically said the same thing he always did: is I really want to get you on medication for anxiety. And I had made my mind up and spoke to one of my caregivers that if he does this, or if I don't like what he says, I'm checking out of here, because it was a rehab that you could leave at any time.
Okay.
So as soon as he said that, I said, I'm out of here. I'm leaving today. I'm out of here. I'm done. You're not listening.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's tough. That's
So,
tough.
yeah.
Yeah. And you know, you want to be heard, right? You want to
Yeah,
be heard.
you want
Yeah.
to be heard,
Yeah.
and you want action, because it's one thing to hear someone, it's another thing to pay attention and take the necessary action.
Yeah.
So what happened is when I left and my friend come to get me, I came home. That was on the Friday the 13th. And I wasn't feeling well at all, but I was trying to get outside as much as I could. And I was also like kind of on the couch more than I wanted to be. And I had to accept that. That was my grace moments. And I knew my strength was going downhill really, really fast, even more so than before. My brain fog was horrible. So finally on the Tuesday morning, I called my caregiver friend and I said, I'm really sorry, but I have to go back to Ottawa. This is really bad. And I thought I just needed to get out of this rehab and get my head on straight. Maybe I was crazy. Maybe I did need pills. And she took me to the emergency in Ottawa again. And it was found out through an MRI that I had a very, I guess, intense brain infection.
Okay.
And so they admitted me that night and put me up in a room. And the next day I had the surgery for my brain tumor.
Okay. Okay. And since then, Janet, how have you managed your energy levels, whether it's emotionally, physically, you know, mentally? I mean, I know you do a lot of yoga and wellness. Is that your focus for yourself? Is there anything else that you do to manage your energy levels?
Oh, you know what? I practice what I preach when I'm in a really good space. So one of the things that happened after I had my second surgery is they had to take the bone plate. So I'm still without a bone plate. I'm waiting for that to happen. So I had a lot of limitations put on me, what I could and couldn't do. I was told I could only lift 8 pounds, and I'm like, a baby weighs 8 pounds. Like, this is ridiculous. How can I manage only lifting 8 pounds? So I came home and I just really started being my own person. I do this for a living. I need to do this for me, as I did in the hospital. So I gave myself grace, and I did what I could with what I had. So I practiced my mindfulness. I stayed focused on the things that served me and the things that didn't. So I actually, I did this in a video in the hospital, but this is a black dot and a round circle. So most people focus everything on a black dot, and I kept that close to me, because every time my brain was going down a rabbit hole, I was like, no, you're coming back up. So yeah, I just did everything and anything I could to keep my spirits up. I also accepted the days that I wasn't myself. And I would just, I think I would literally allow all my feelings to come and go. And honor them as they came and went. And I was also talk to myself, like, what is this? You know, what's going on? And it helps, because once we identify what really something is, you can kind of help yourself get through it. And the other thing that I did is I had to say to myself many times, is this real or is this BS? We all know what BS stands for, because when you get yourself in a bad frame of mind and a frame of thinking, almost always what you're thinking is BS. It's not true. So that was my go-to.
That's a good reminder for our audience, for sure. So let's pause for a second and let's ask our audience a quick poll question. I don't know why that keeps popping there. Excuse me for a second. Overall, how would the audience rate your mental health these days. So I'll give everybody a second to answer. Very good, somewhat good, good, somewhat poor, or very poor. Let's do a little check-in with the audience. Give everybody a moment. So it's a mix. It's definitely a mix. It's coming up. And I'll share this in a second. Thanks everyone for participating. And so the results show that it's a mix. So 25% are saying pretty good, very good overall these days, 35% somewhat good, 20% good, and 20% poor. Thank you for sharing, everybody. Just wanted to do a little check-in with our audience to see, to see how things are going for them. And so it's been a long couple of years for you, right? Since the beginning of the pandemic. And so can you talk to us a little bit, Janet, about how the pandemic has affected your mental health, or even just other things regarding appointments, or, getting to the hospital, or meeting with your healthcare team?
Sure. So first, even before, because I didn't find out about my tumor until 2021, my business was shut down because of the pandemic. I couldn't work. Well, I could work if I went and got a job, but I kept thinking that we're going to get out of this. Well, we had a 2-week curve, right? So
Yeah.
I kept thinking that this is going to change, but kind of the flip good side of this, which some people may not be happy about, or may be happy for me. I was happy. I was able to take some time for me. I did, all the things that I did love to do. And I'm glad for that, because then a year later, everything that I loved to do was taken away for that time.
Right.
So kind of the pandemic, yes, it affected me financially. It affected me how I work with my clients and how I want to serve them. And it also, I was stressed a bit because now I'm not there for them. Right. And are they doing the things that they need to do to take care of themselves? So that, that's a worry when you work with folks that are vulnerable, when you work with older folks, it's always on your mind.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's fair. That is fair. And so do you have any tips or suggestions, like Alicia, for either family members or friends, or healthcare professionals? And I love this photo of you with the clementine, because I know that your brain tumor was the size of it. Do you name it Clementine as well?
Well, the doctor said you have a tumor the size of a clementine. So his name was actually, I called him a man. Don't take offense, man. Do not take offense. But I called him Clem. And like Clem really needed to go. He's kind of like the ex you're still holding on to, and then finally you're like, no, you gotta go. So that's where he got his name. So everyone jokes about Clem, and whenever there's clementines, that was at Christmas, and they were out for me. So that was his name. Good so stuff. What I would say for tips is, we always have to be here for ourselves first and other people second. And in a busy life, and being, whether you're whoever, a mom, I'm a mom of an adult, so this doesn't really affect me, but we have to really pull back and take care of ourselves and be there for ourselves and do everything to be there for us mentally, physically, emotionally. And there's the phrase about never have expectations. And I can tell you that I have never been more attuned to this than I was during all of this stuff that went on. Because of course it wasn't just a brain tumor and a surgery for infection. Everything started happening after that, things fall apart. You just have to be present. So my favorite line always was, "This too shall pass." Yeah. This too shall pass. And I say it all the time when something pops up. And I really have put myself first. I'm still taking care of people, but I have to come first. So if I'm tired, I'm first. Yes. And own and operate In the Now Yoga and Wellness. So being present, and it is literally for me in the moment. It's not even day by day. It's just like be very present right here and now.
Yeah.
And my other thing, just because I'm still in this, is I say my mantra every day is I am healed, healthy, and whole.
Love it. Love
Yeah.
it. Beautiful mantras. Beautiful, beautiful mantras. And so anything else you want to add, Janet? Any other support you've gotten over the years? Or I love this beautiful photo of the sand. You wrote the word grace. I imagine,
Yeah.
is that giving yourself grace, or you want to explain that a little bit to the audience?
Yeah, that is absolutely giving myself grace. So interestingly enough, before my brain tumor, I had gone to Panama, and every morning I would go and do a walking meditation. I would write in the sand, and for whatever reason, back then that word came to me.
Mhm.
And when I went away for a little bit in the winter this year,
Mhm.
I wrote it again, and it meant a lot more to me this time than it did then. So
Amazing.
yeah.
Amazing. And you've got your Hats for Hope toque on. So
Yeah.
So anybody who's new to Brain Tumor Foundation of Canada, we do a Hats for Hope campaign, toque sales in October. So keep an eye on that. Sorry, I think I interrupted you. Were you going to say
No,
something else?
no. I was just going to say it certainly helped to keep my my less than full head of skull warm.
Warm. Good. Good, good, good. And like Alicia, you have a beautiful quote here as well. So far, nothing you have felt or been through has got the better of you. You will make it through this trial with the battle scars and willful heart. You will always rise. I love that. It's
Yeah.
beautiful.
It's nice
Beautiful.
to have battle scars where nobody sees them, though.
Yeah, yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. Thank you